Welcome, everybody. First things first, as always, if I could just get a very quick audio visual check, please. Let me know you can see my charts and hear me okay. Let me know how your day is going, guys. Much refreshing pump to the upside today. I've got good and bad news about that, obviously. But yeah, after confirmation, I'll get started here. Just make sure I'm not talking to myself because, again, that has happened before. First comment, welcome, Zeus. Good to see you. I got myself into a little bit of a scalp short and it's started running, but honestly, I am expecting higher prices. Sounds good. Right on, fellas. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, guys. Well, we got a little bit to discuss here. I am only going to be streaming for 20 or 30 minutes here, so we'll dive right into it. But basically, yeah, everybody knows that Bitcoin has been pumping absolutely beautifully throughout today. There was obviously an FOMC meeting. Honestly, I don't follow that kind of stuff too closely. You guys know I don't actually trade the news. But it was worth mentioning just for the fact that, things were going to get volatile. And you know what? Maybe it will end up impacting the price for the bullish theories. I still have my concerns with Bitcoin, obviously, but it was a nice, refreshing bounce today to at least see some signs of life. I ended up taking this little bit of a scalp just on honestly, a 1 minute double top. Just the fact that we were starting to see rejection right in this little resistance zone, had a bit of a bearish divergence and overbought conditions. I just figured, you know what, it's a tight stop loss. If this ends up being a bit of a reversal, I'll update my stop loss very quickly. As soon as we started breaking any sort of structure, like obviously this being the first one, already my stop loss was at break even. Because honestly, guys, I totally see the reasons why the bulls could be strong here. And like I said, I do have some good and bad to talk about with Bitcoin. But basically, I'm still willing to take a short because even with the structure break in on longer time frames, which I'll get into in a second, even with that, it would make a lot of sense to get a pullback at some point. And just like I said, this was a tight invalidation setup, and we just started setting lower lows, lower highs. So each of these lines is just a very micro lower high on the trend. We got a little break above here, but we instantly ended up losing that. So right now, I would actually be curious to see if we end up getting, basically, if the bears are going to remain in control on just this little micro trend here, I would be expecting to find resistance, something like this. Let me erase these old lower highs here. Basically, I wouldn't want to see us pump back above 86.4, let's call it. If we do, then I think we're going right back up to challenge the highs once again. So, and like I said, guys, there is reasons for that. I know I've been extremely bearish in the past, but it is nice to see that we at least got this bit of a break. Honestly, you guys, I ended up losing a trade today. It happens, right? I did end up laddering into a short here, just hoping for a potential further downside move here. But I was very vocal about that if we end up breaking this kind of 85.5 level, that I thought it's very reasonable to expect that we could shoot much higher, and much higher being even above 90K. Because on the 4 hour, you guys, this is the actual structure that I'm concerned with on as far as the mid to long term trend, right? The fact that we did have this low back here and a lower low here, the highest point between the two is my confirmed lower high, and that's way up at 95K yet. So as long as the price is below 95K, for me, as far as the mid to long term trend goes, it is still bearish while we're below that. But again, it is nice to see that microstructure is starting to shift to the upside, so we can at least come up and test this resistance level, because so often on this downtrend, we haven't even been able to test those fibs. And honestly, we're going to have to see if we do with this one. Maybe that is our reversal. Who knows, right? But this is kind of the level that I've been very interested in looking for shorts in the near future, hopefully. Another little bit of confluence with that is if I go back to our all-time high, Trump's inauguration on the 20th here, and just connect a bit of a trend line. I know not everybody's into diagonal trend lines. I do like to use them personally, mostly as confluence, but also I just look for very specific touch points. And honestly, that lines up quite well with that Stuber fib pocket as well. So if we end up climbing to the upside, I think it makes a lot of sense to start looking for shorts once we get above 90K. I don't think I will be, well, no, I know I'm not going to be setting limit orders at that level. But what I will be doing is, I actually just deleted this line earlier, but you guys know I had an alert on this. BTC 4-hour diagonal resistance. Basically, I want to know what Bitcoin's doing if we get up to this trend line, because if we get some sort of failed break or a swing fail, liquidity grab, whatever you want to call it, some sort of a rejection on the shorter time frames of this diagonal trend line, especially if it would, let's just say in a perfect world, wick right up to the 786 and then get rejected and retest this, I would love to short that. And that would be a nice tight invalidation then, because basically however high the swing fail goes, basically then something like that, I mean, we could have our stop loss above the 886, because I wouldn't really want to see us reclaim that again. If we did, then I would start to think that, hey, the bulls are actually showing some strength. But I would love to get some sort of a short position off a rejection anywhere around that 90, really all the way up to 95K. Actually, technically a little bit higher for that swing fail level on the horizontal level. It's very possible that we get something like that. That would also be a beautiful short, but there's a lot of time between now and then, right? This is a 4-hour. It would most likely take a while to play out, but just with how this is breaking out and how strong the bulls have been today, I did want to make a quick video and just kind of bring it to your attention that I don't really see reason for us to stop where we have so far. I mean, I still think that it's a fairly clear shot up to that 90K, but obviously we're going to have to see if I'm wrong about that. You know, like I said, I did end up in a little bit of a short here. And as far as the micro trend goes, we're right at resistance right now. We're just kind of testing the 786 right now as I speak. So yeah, if the bears are going to remain in control, I would expect us to get rejected fairly soon here. But if we break that, then I think it's very likely we're going to push through the highs again. I do have a partial stop loss here. I have a trigger order to take profit on half of my position if we break 86,433 on the BloFin exchange. I would be taking half my profits at that point, and then the rest of my stop loss is just above this level here. We do have these little, I don't talk about these often, but I just kind of started paying attention to them a little bit more again. But these top signals on my trend dynamic indicator here, I love to notice, much like how I treat most indicators, right? I know with the Trend Master, I've showed like when we have lower trending sell signals or higher trending buy signals, then I generally like to play that trend. And I kind of look at these the same thing. Like I look at most indicators, just kind of helping to find which way things are trending. So if we end up losing this signal here, that's where I want to take profit on the rest of my position. But obviously I want to take a chunk long before that if we start showing signs of strength at all, because this was just, honestly, I'm surprised I'm still in it. This was nothing. It was meant to be a scalp with a tight stop loss, and it just kind of started running. So as long as we keep setting these downtrending Stuber fibs here on the 1 minute, I'll just stay in this position for now. How is everyone feeling on the markets? Honestly, I love to see that we finally got some strength, but again, I have my concerns. I know people always say, and this is meant to be interpreted bullish. People love to say, when in doubt, zoom out. Honestly, the further out I zoom, the more bearish I get. That is my problem right now, because if I go to the weekly chart, even if we get a bounce, guys, we're going to have to see how we react to this RSI. I've been very clear about this in many recent videos that basically the first thing to lead me to be macro bullish again, I think, will be us breaking this RSI resistance line. At that point, I can consider that our downtrend is broken, just like what happened back here. So that's kind of what I'm watching for before our next push to the upside. And then the monthly, like I said, I zoom out, I get even more bearish, because as far as order blocks go here on the monthly, just basically looking for where we got that final push at each stages of the market cycles. Basically, we're shooting 5 for 5 for whenever we've got this signal here. This is only the second time in Bitcoin's history that we have seen this happen on the monthly. So, I mean, not saying this has to play out, macro bearishly here. If we get an engulfing candle to the upside or anything like that on the monthly, I will be so bullish again, because structure will then be confirming a higher high, right? Then we have higher low support again. That I would love to see. But as it stands right now, the fact that we lost this little block and flipped that support into resistance, guys, since this is a monthly, that does go up to about 97K. And what I was pointing out on the 4-hourly, that wick area is all the way up at about 98K, close to 98K. So yeah, like I said, the further I zoom out, the more bearish I'm getting these days. But I would love to see, if the 4-hour can break that 95K level, since that's the lower high structure. If we can break that, at least it's a sign to me that, hey, the shorter time frames are starting to turn around. As this price action we had today, I still don't consider that. This was a nice pump as far as a day goes, because we just haven't seen this in a long time. But on the grand scheme of things, we haven't broke basically anything as far as macro structure goes. So I just can't be too optimistic quite yet. But again, it's nice. I like to see it too. Just because I'm bearish for the most part lately, I still love seeing bullish price action, right? Fake pump, no volume. Ooh, that's interesting. I haven't even looked at the volume. Nice to see so many familiar faces in here, guys. If you do appreciate these live streams and just kind of keeping a level-headed approach at this, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate you all being here with me, you guys. But yeah, like I said, I did end up losing that trade today that I took when I laddered into resistance of this level, but that's trading, right? I would always rather be shorting or selling into resistance rather than FOMOing long. Yes, on the shorter time frames, I probably could have found some scalps that would have worked out better to the long side, but whatever, it is what it is. But for now, yeah, we're gonna have to see what happens with this short position, I guess. Getting real close to invalidating that bearish Stuber on the 1 minute here. Very close. So I probably will end up locking in half of my profits here very quickly. But honestly, as far as a very tight stop loss situation, sometimes I like just swinging at a short on something like this. Not telling you what to do, just for my personal risk tolerance. If I can get into a position that's so close to my invalidation up here, sometimes I just take a swing at it anyways, even if I don't have a lot of faith in it, just because of a risk reward, right? Like just talking basically from the start of this candle, even if you had it just past the 115 and you end up hitting the full Stuber fib target, I mean, that's a 5.5 to 1 risk reward. So it is fairly nice. But again, it is high risk, obviously, because it's showing strength, but just risk reward. We are technically at resistance until we break this for one of my setups. I'm not going to take a second short. I'm good with just one, because I really think that the 4-hour, I don't know. I just don't think that pump is really done. The one thing that I could see, and you guys, I'm a little bit bitter about this, honestly. Hopefully some of you guys never did the same thing that I did, but I've been pointing out this level for a while. I was looking at that bullish fib setup. I know I was mentioning it in the Telegram and whatnot. We ended up testing that 786 absolutely perfectly, and I got an absolutely phenomenal entry, because even on the 1 minute there was another mini Stuber that formed right there. I got literally a perfect long position there, and I ended up bumping up my stop loss a little bit early, like a total noob, and I ended up getting stopped out before catching that rest of that move, and I really didn't want to FOMO into resistance. But so unfortunately, I had a perfect, absolutely perfect trade off of that level. Hopefully some of you who caught my last stream and caught me talking about that, hopefully you caught that entry and hopefully you're still in it. I'm kind of bummed out that happened, obviously, because that would have been a beautiful trade. Yeah, 6%. I was on 50x leverage, so I mean that would have been a 300% position right now, but it is what it is, right? But I did want to bring up that level. And my reasoning for wanting to bring this up, for one, just being fully honest with you guys. And also, since the reason I took that was because we had this structure here. We had that high, higher low. So that's where I pulled that fib, and that's where the 786 landed, right? Now the fact that since we broke this high and we have a higher high, now I can pull a new fib, because if this trend is going to continue, I would expect to take some stabs at some longs down at this level, and that would be starting down around 82.5, 82.6, somewhere in there. So the thing is, even if we pull back, and like I said, right now on the 1 minute, we are getting a bit of a rejection there. But since the 1 minute is in this downtrend, and why I'm still, even though I'm bullish on the 4 hour, I was still willing to take a short on the 1 minute like that, was because I think it's very possible, not necessarily probable, but it's absolutely possible that we pull back, even if we are bullish and going to test up above 90K. It would still make a lot of sense, since we swept this structure or broke this structure, to get some sort of a pullback and then take off. So we're going to have to see. I don't know if I'm going to be lucky enough to get that position down there, but that's trading, right? I'm not going to FOMO long now into a 4 hour position. I would definitely consider taking some scalp longs at this point, if I see the setups on the shorter time frames, but I would not just YOLO into a breakout trade on the 4 hour like this, because I just think it's very possible that I could get a much better entry. And if I don't, then I just don't. That's all there is to it. That's fine. That's trading. Daily RSI broke a downtrend line, I hear. Let's take a peek. See, and like at a glance, this daily structure looks good, but same thing as the 4 hour, right? We did set a slightly lower low. Like this was actually on the daily, this is a beautiful swing fail, right? Testing the bottom of the wick there, getting your candle bodies, closing right on that level. Beautiful. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense why we are getting this pump, but I don't really, as far as the daily goes, I don't really consider this a high and a higher high, because we haven't broke the bearish structure that I do have outlined, right? The lower low, lower low, lower high. This is still valid as far as bearish goes. So I don't even have a bullish Stuber on the daily yet. We would have to take out that lower high at 95K. But yeah, I mean, it's absolutely, again, it's nice to see that we at least found support, right? Let's take a look at this daily trend line you speak of. Go right from that. Yeah, maybe. Here's my problem with that, though. This, I don't consider this 3 touch points. And when I play diagonal trend lines, I really like 3 exact touch points. I see one, I consider this one because they're right beside each other. Let me just, and also I would say today's candle needs to close, because I think so far that's so close that I'm not willing to say it's a confident break. And I feel like if today's candle ends up closing red, I think we'll see this looking like a rejection. So on the daily, I would like to see how that RSI closes tomorrow. But yeah, it's definitely, you're right. It does look like it broke out. You could obviously look at a shorter one, something like this. But the thing is, I do like that it has 3 touch points, but I wouldn't say it invalidates my exact divergence line, that like the one that I look at on the weekly here from overextended conditions. It's a very specific divergence I look for. So on the weekly, as soon as that breaks, I'm going to be such a moon boy again. But for now, the daily, it's close. At the start of the week, wherever we were here, up here, and as well as when the RSI was trading around here, I remember it looking very similar as the next weekly candle started. That as the candle started, we were above this line, but then as the week went on, it ended up dropping and looking like rejection. So just because that one is so close on the daily, I just have my concerns about it is all. Brian, good to see you here again, brother. Welcome, welcome. Where would I draw a fib on this latest move upwards? I guess that would be that 4-hour one that I just mentioned. Like the most micro one that I can find on the 4-hour, and honestly, probably the same thing on like the 15-minute, even something like that. That's kind of back down at that 82.5 if we want, some sort of a decent retrace on the 4-hour. Let's zoom in. Technically there would be a bullish one on the 1 minute right now since we took out this high here. Could end up getting something like that. Another one to watch for as far as the bearish side would obviously be careful when we get up higher if we do end up bouncing. Just remember that there is resistance up here. Try not to be, if you're going to take your longs, try and get them on a breakout. Try not to, or not on a breakout, try and get longs on a retrace. Don't try and catch a breakout right into resistance, please. I know the bulls always look strongest as we get to resistance, just like, just like the price always looks weak as you trade into support. It's very natural, but I know human emotion wants you to long into resistance and short into support, but that's the whole point of waiting for those structure breaks and then trying to get those pullbacks, right? Just so I can get rid of my fibs, I'm gonna map out some boxes here. And something like so. So those are a couple levels that are on my radar right now. One of those bottom signals there. It's not a higher one though, right? It's not like we have a bottom signal here and then a bottom signal here, how I love to spot trending indicators. So it'd be a little riskier trying to take this as a pivot point, but at least that's a sign of strength. May end up pushing and getting my, end up hitting my half stop loss there. Ooh, Brian, good question. For this cycle, what do I feel like the bottom of BTC could be? 35K. That's my exact level, actually. That is only if we have topped out, though. If we get another leg to the upside, because that's the thing, guys, with trading. I mean, we just have to adapt to what the chart gives us. I'm not as interested in playing, well, what if we break out to the upside? Well, then at that point, things change in the structure. But as it stands right now, if we were to have topped out here because of my monthly chart concerns, then I would pull a fib from the bottom here where we basically started our bull market and to where we have topped out. And yeah, that range would start at about 30, call it 36K down to 26K. And for those who don't believe me that it would ever happen, just notice that it has happened every single market cycle so far. And I know this cycle feels different. Every cycle feels different. You need exponentially bigger players in every single cycle to get similar results. So yeah, it is what it is. We'll see. Obviously, it doesn't have to. If structure breaks before that, then, then we can get bullish again if we break that kind of an order block that I was talking about, right? But yeah, 35K, I think that's totally a fair assessment if we are going to go into some sort of a bear market, right? There's a lot of what ifs between now and then, honestly. Haven't heard from Tone for a while, but last you heard, he said that we may have a few more months of downside. Yeah, I think he's at a retreat in the Maldives currently, I think, for this week. So you might just be stuck with me. Actually, I'll be busy streaming elsewhere tomorrow, but yeah, I'll try and do 1 or 2 this weekend maybe or something. And for those of you who do just want my thoughts on the market in general, obviously I do have my own Telegram channel. You can scan the QR code. You can click the link and follow the steps in the description down below. I do give some of my trade setups. Again, unfortunately, one today I ended up losing out on, but there's been some nice calls in that signals group there. Just kind of my thoughts on the market in general, kind of teaching some of my favorite trading strategies. There's also a couple of educational videos in there, and there is more to come on that. So yeah, if that's something that interests you, and you, rather than trying to follow the fundamentals and that sort of stuff, if you just want to kind of stay up to date with how I look at structure and how I look at Fibonacci's and kind of try and keep a level head from both sides, do yourselves a favor, scan the QR code, or like I said, you can also click the link in the description down below and follow those steps. BloFin does currently have a pretty sweet deposit and trading bonus right now as well. Actually, sorry, I don't have it ready for you guys, but yeah, you can check that out in when you sign up on the description down below as well. Yeah, what do we got here? Oh, we do have a lower top signal here, right at that invalidation level I was talking about, right? So a nice tight invalidation there. Maybe I will get lucky and my position will run rather than getting tagged for half of it. What do I think about the bullish divergence and RSI downward trend line breakout on BTC daily chart? I did just go over that. I have mixed feelings about that one. Sorry, let me just bring up a fresh daily chart here. Let's remove everything. So I don't necessarily agree. I do see this bullish divergence here. It's just not the exact one that I typically trade. Actually, it's very close. However, that being said, I don't know if I really consider this downward trend line broke yet. It looks like it is, but as I mentioned earlier, I kind of want to see how tomorrow's candle closes, or I guess today's candle close technically, because it looks like we've broke. It doesn't have 3 exact touch points yet. That's a bit of a red flag that it could be a fake out to me. And I do think if this candle ends up closing red, I think this may end up looking like another rejection. Because on the weekly, as I mentioned, both these times that we touched this trend line, it looked like we were breaking out from it as soon as the next weekly candle started. But after a couple of days, it started to look more like a rejection. So I do want to watch for that on the daily yet. But again, it's mostly the weekly chart that I'm interested in as far as the macro goes. That, or as soon as we break that 95K level on the 4-hour, I will also, at least at that point, we have some structure that is broken bullishly. But even with this pump today, we haven't actually broke the downtrend at all. Oh, we got some spam out there. I'll just give that the old remove. Yeah, guys. How is well, like I said, that was a nice, tight invalidation little scalp there. Honestly, if you did end up taking it, I would already be taking profits at this point. We got very close to the 0.5 fib. Very possible we just kind of hit that first target and reverse from there. So as far as a 1 minute scalp, I would be considering taking profits. Always remember what time frame you're trading, right? Don't trade the 1 minute expecting it to go for hours. Like I said, I was updating my stop loss on the short so fast because I took it on the 1 minute. I didn't have a ton of faith in the bears carrying on a trend. I just saw something that caught my eye and very quickly updating stop loss. I still haven't, like I said, I'm not changing anything yet. I still have my half take profit on this partial stop loss here as a trigger order. I am planning to end up doing an educational video about BloFin, kind of using leverage, different kinds of leverage, different order types that I talk about in my Telegram and that sort of thing. I am planning to do a video fairly soon. Just got to get around to it, I suppose, but hopefully in the next week or two here. That will be obviously available to my Telegram group for those interested in my educational content, as well as just my overall thoughts on the market. You can scan the QR code or click the link and follow the steps in the description down below. But other than that, guys, I think you kind of see where I'm getting at with these charts. Yeah, again, it honestly doesn't look too bad for me. I totally see reasons why we could end up going up towards 90K. The only reason I took a short is because it was a tight invalidation setup and there's potential for a nice pullback here, even if the 4 hour remains bullish on this micro trend, right? But as far as the overall trend, yeah, 95K is the line in the sand for me. So we will have to see with that. But guys, I think that's about all I wanted to go over. So if you did appreciate this quick little stream here with me, guys, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel as well if you don't want to miss these streams. And yeah, those of you in the Telegram, I will be sharing my thoughts as we go here. I'm almost done looking at charts for the day, but I will keep you guys up to date with new structure that I'm seeing and that sort of stuff. And yeah, hope to see you guys in there. With that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Thank you so much for being here with me once again. And I'm out. Peace.